This week's podcast consists of 3 short messages from members of the congregation, starting with Pam.
Before Christmas, Carol used chocolate to explain things to us. And I thought she started us off in the right realm. There's a lot of chocolate about at Christmas. But there's also something else that we have at Christmas that we don't bother with the rest of the year, really, and that's nuts. Now, I like nuts on their own, not in cakes, biscuits, sweets, chocolate, nothing, just on their own. But there's one nut I just cannot stand. It's an almond. So that means I don't like marzipan. So when I used to make my own cakes, Bev used to have to do all the marzipan for me. It was horrible. Couldn't stand it. He went to Pam's one year and she was putting chocolate on her cake. And when he asked her why, she said somebody in their family didn't like marzipan. So I thought, that's a good idea, so I used that after. But one of the ladies at our craft class this year made us all a little bag of chocolates, homemade. So naturally I said, is there any nuts in there? I'm not allergic, don't get me wrong, I'm not allergic. And she said, no, there isn't. So when we were at home and we was opening this packet, put it in my mouth, the first couple of round my mouth were lovely. And then I bit it. And oh goodness, there was marzipan right in the middle. Oh, well, I'd already chewed it. Apart from spitting it out, what could I do? So I had to eat it. Anyway, I thought to myself, that's like life. Life could be like a box of chocolates, all sweetness and light and lovely. And then you get to the hard bits, like when you got the nuts. That takes a bit more getting through. Or you might even have a nasty bit, like I had with the marzipan. But you get through these things. Anyway, I got a friend who's lactose intolerant. And for years she couldn't eat chocolates. Because if she did, they made her ill. And one day, listen to this, I was surfing the net. And I came across these chocolates and they were suitable for those with this intolerance. So I bought her some. And she was over the moon. At last, she could eat these chocolates and they didn't make her ill. And I thought that was very nice for her. And you know what these chocolates was called? Pure Heavenly. And then I thought, again, we could spiritualise that if you want for a better word. That sin can upset us and make our lives miserable. But if we've got a pure Heavenly in our lives, it can smooth the path for us. And that pure Heavenly is our Father, Jesus, our Lord, whatever you want to call him. And I was thinking along these lines, and I thought, I bought these chocolates for my friend Joan. But I'll tell you something, they weren't cheap. Oh no, they were not cheap. But fortunately her birthday's in December like mine, so she had to have it for the 2. When we take on salvation, or it's given to us, it's free. We can enjoy it. We can revel in it, sing to the music, have enjoyment together. And it's free for us, yes. But it came at a price. And it wasn't cheap. It cost our Jesus everything. So today, when you're thinking about whatever anybody else shares, whatever you do, enjoy your salvation. But just remember that one thing. It wasn't cheap. It cost a lot. But for us, it's free. So if you're enjoying your chocolate, enjoying your singing, enjoying your companionship with one another, never forget that our salvation didn't come cheap. But thank the Lord, that it is free for us. Thank you for listening.
The next mini message is from Tom.
Yeah, I just thought I was doing some outreach with Birmingham City Mission yesterday. I actually did put something else together, but I thought this was really good. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, basically, I was going to talk about 1 Timothy and be really blunt and say, my first challenge was like, everyone read 1 Timothy and find something which you really don't like that speaks to you. So this is part of my personality, I'm afraid. So you've got me now. But I thought this was really good. So there was a guy who just walked past me down at St Martin's in the Bullring and just said this psalm. Can you just do the next one? Yeah, thanks. He just quoted this to me very quickly, and I think he knew what he was talking about. He said, "Better is open rebuke than hidden love, and faith are the wounds of a friend, profuse are the kisses of an enemy." And actually, in life, sometimes one of the things that kind of traditionally British people were good at, I sometimes wonder if sort of our concept, well, before it got nasty, our concept of banter kind of came from this. The fact that actually your friends could, wind you up a bit, could actually, because you trusted them, because you knew that. And actually, this idea that having someone say to you, actually, do you know what, you are going in the wrong direction. And it does hurt because you think everything's fine, you think you're absolutely, everything's great. And it doesn't make you initially feel very good. But because of who says it, because of the way it's put, because of the perhaps the circumstances or whatever, you kind of realize that, okay, yeah, this person is right. So we've all had criticism from people who actually don't love us. Do you know what I mean? That they don't care about us. They just want to do us down. My first job, I was surrounded by a lot of people. It was very competitive. I was an accountant, pretty glamorous. Not really. And there was just lots of people who were happy to criticize, but really because they wanted the next promotion or whatever, they wanted the next position. And I think that it's really important is that when I've had people come to me and said, they've actually really pulled me up on something. Said, no, you need to check your attitude. You need to change this a bit. You need to go a different path. And then because of who they were, and because of what they were saying, and because of the way they were saying it, it was something that I could accept and actually swallow and kind of see the truth of it. And it's a really, really difficult lesson to have. But it's just part of the truth of the Bible. When I was growing up in my school in Birmingham, even old as I am, even in the 80s, it was actually quite diverse. A lot of my schoolmates were like Hindu or Sikh or Muslim. And slowly over the years, I realised there's a fundamental difference about viewing truth with a lot of other world views. And it's not necessarily to sort of, have a massive go at other people's beliefs. It's just to say that in Christianity, the sort of objective truth is thoroughly valued. It fits with the Bible. It fits with the Bible. That's why, science and all the rest of it. So, in fact, there's no fear in being told the real truth because we know foundationally that God loves us and we know that He has got us. He will lead us home, but He does rebuke us. That's the thing. He doesn't agree with everything we do. And I think that just to go on to this, faith for the wounds of a friend is that, sometimes it can feel like you're wounded. I've felt really kind of like, wow, have you said that to me? That's really harsh or whatever like this. And, it has felt like a real wound. But then you realize in contrast, there's other people at the same time will come up to you and say, yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, great. Encourage you. There's 2 very different people I'm thinking of here. Is that my intern at a previous job when I was a youth worker was, he was a bit up and down, and he was kind of, he took a lot of, he wasn't really controllable, to be honest, at the start. I was running this youth club. He was very popular. He brought people along, but he'd tell me in no uncertain terms to get lost in less polite language in front of everyone when I was trying to run a youth club. And I was saying, okay, mate, this probably isn't the way to go forward. But actually, he actually got kicked out of home by his stepdad. So he was in a bit of it wasn't the worst domestic situation, but when he was kicked out of home and I met up with him with someone else, I was the one who said to him, okay, I get that's really harsh. You are 21 and you threw a wild party and you basically wrecked the house, caused quite a few thousand quid's worth of damage. Do you think that might have something to do with his decision? And he didn't actually kick him out. He was just said, things have got to change, and so he kind of stormed off and everything. Not to go down too much of a rabbit hole, But actually, months later, he came back to me and he said, you were telling me the truth. A lot of other people just took my side and said, oh yeah, mate, that's really harsh, And actually, we've stayed friends for years and years. And he realizes that what I was saying then it was difficult, but it was what he needed to hear. And it really, so I'm quoting his words, and it's not about me sort of getting on top of or winning an argument or something. And the second one is actually, profuse are the kisses of an enemy, is that I never thought I'd say this actually. Has anyone here heard of Russell Brand? So he's not someone I thought I would sort of say I agreed with, because a lot of things about his lifestyle and his background and his humour and whatever don't sit well with me. I actually never found him funny. There's people you're tempted to find funny, but I never really found him funny. So, but actually he does his sort of online stuff and things like that, and a lot of it's perhaps information that, when you're when you've been a Christian a long time, you kind of think, well, duh, yeah, that's kind of obvious. But actually, one of the things I really liked about the fact, because he reaches millions of young people, is he said a really powerful thing. He said, you know what? Big business isn't your friend. The government isn't your friend. This big political party isn't your friend. All these people, they're saying things you want to hear, buttering you up because they want your money, your vote, whatever else like this. And actually, it's a really powerful thing in Christianity that we have this verse where we know that actually God definitely still loves us. Jesus died on the cross for us, but he doesn't always agree with what we say. And I think that's, for me, that's a huge comfort, is actually we know that the path is guaranteed. We know that Jesus is with us, but that he's not always going to endorse kind of our decisions and what we do and what we say and stuff like that. But as I say, it's not about a sort of one-upmanship. On the contrasting side, there's obviously more to the Bible than this. On the contrasting side, some people could use this verse as an excuse to go around saying, oh, I've got something to say to you and something to say to you. There's people who can be very harsh and critical, and I'm sure we've all been hurt by that. I'm sure we've all been affected by that. And so it is a process. And so I love the Proverbs that it just flows like a river. There's chapter divisions, but when you read it, you just kind of think you could just keep on and on and on and on. And actually, so there's sort of, and sometimes it appears to contradict, but the idea is it's trying to get you into this flow, into this stream of wisdom, rather than just picking out a petty point and going, haha, I've got one there. So I think that's just what I'm sharing today. And I got that inspiration from someone on the street yesterday. We were out there preaching to people, but I'm very, very happy to get preached at as well, and to hear what people have got to say as well. So thank you for that. Okay, cheers.
Our last mini message is by Vanessa.
Right, what I'm going to talk about is, as we go into another year, I don't know about you, but I like to plan things. Ellen, you know this, because I like to plan holidays, things on the house, son's wedding, although that's what he's planning. Well, we all like to plan. Now, as you know, things don't always go to plan, or they change. This year, I knew it was Callum's last Christmas at home, so I thought of a few ideas. Well, as you know, that plan didn't go quite how I expected it. The end of November, I started having pains in my stomach and being sick. Now, I've had this on and off for the past 2 years. And when I've been to the doctors, they have sent me for a scan for kidney stones, gallstones, you name it, whatever. But nothing showed up. This time, when I was ill again, I rang the doctors and they sent me straight into hospital again for a scan. The doctor told me, you have to bypass A&E and go to the surgical ward, which I did. And then I waited to be seen. Eventually, I was taken to the CT department. There were a few people waiting there, so I thought I would have to wait again for a while, as you know, with hospitals. But I was the second one in. I didn't really know what was happening, other than they told me you will be operated on as soon as possible. They said it was for my appendix, but what they didn't tell me was that my appendix had burst and there was poison in my body. Eventually, I had a bed and was hooked up to a drip supplying antibiotics, and told again that the surgeon would be along soon. Perhaps they didn't want to tell me because how serious it was. It was life-threatening. which all the music that you've sung today really connects with the plans, the trust and everything else. Anyway, I prayed for God to help me. I was so scared. It had all happened so quick and I had no control over the situation. And I think anybody who's been in hospital, Becky, Tony or anybody else, you just can't do anything, can you, at all? But God had a plan. We never know why things happen in our life, but as it says in Romans 8 verse 28, and we know that all things God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. Whether things are going good or not so good in our life, God has a plan for each of us. As in Jeremiah 29 verse 11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Well, just before 12 at night, the surgeon came to see me and said, you're going down to theatre. Well, this is when you're on your own. Well, don't ask me why, but I started to feel calm and at peace, and I knew the church were praying. I knew this because when I went down to theatre, I saw lots of pictures on the walls in the room before I went into theatre. Pictures of what children had done as a thank you to the staff. And one of the names of the children was right in my eye level. Samuel, which is that third song I think you sang, Annabeth, God heard. Because what Samuel means is God has heard. So he heard all your prayers. And I knew God was then in control, even though I wasn't. It wasn't a coincidence that I saw this. It was all in God's plan. I was then put out for the operation. So, whenever you feel, why is this happening or not happening, God has a plan. Just like today, really, with all them songs. Our life is like a jigsaw puzzle. We think we know where the pieces go, but God has the bigger picture. And he knows what piece is right and what piece isn't. And all I want to say is, trust in him and he will guide you through life, just like he's done every one of us in this room. Thanks for listening.